Hello and welcome to King and Titan Racing. Today we're going to be doing fiberglass repair. Now there's several reasons you might need to do this job. You might have tapped a splitter on a curb, you might have tapped a wall, you may have had your bumper rip off your car going backwards at 85 miles an hour. So in my case, there is plenty to fix and lots of different jobs. At the front here you can see we've got a partial tear in a panel. At the back we have a catastrophic failure with loads of parts facing in different directions and different planes and broken tabs all over it, which is a really common one for everyone to have to do. At the end of all of that, I'm then going to carve out this section here, which is basically just filler, and actually build up the panel with fiberglass as well. So let's take a look at the kit we're going to use and all the tools we're going to need. Now we don't actually need all that much to do this job. Everything we need comes in this handy little kit from Isopon. You can get this at sort of Halfords or anywhere like that. And then I've got a bunch of extra mat though because I've got quite a lot of area to do. I've also got some extra epoxy, extra hardener, so that if I need to I can keep going on the wider areas to make things as strong as I need them to be. Then we're going to be using some metal tape. Now this is, a different one for me. Usually it's sort of a masking tape or something that I'd use. Metal tape because when it gets the epoxy on it, it doesn't just sort of fade away and crumble, so that will actually sustain itself throughout the hardening process. And we're going to be using it where we've got a hole that we need to cover. We will cover one side, we can fiberglass the other side, and that will stop it protruding through and needing to be sanded back too much. We have the fiberglass onto the fiberglass mat within the existing part, so we have to get rid of the paint, we have to get rid of the epoxy layer, and then when we can get to the fibers, that's what we're going to be bonding to. So lots of sanding blocks for paint remover, for different grits for getting through what we need to get through, and the blocks are great because they'll help you keep things in a fairly smooth and even plane. Got some really rough freehand stuff though when I need it. And then for the bigger areas, a mouse will do the trick. So one of these, a couple of different pads and grits on there, they will work. I have got this though for the bigger areas and I'm going to be using it because it's going to make life a lot easier. So let's get on with the job. I'm going to kick things off with this piece where I've got 4 panels going in different directions. Using the mouse, I'm going to get off all of this inner protective layer and get down to the fiberglass on the back and the same to get through the paint on the front. I'm then going to grind out these sections that overlap, essentially making the problem worse in order to fix it, creating actual holes in the panel. Here I'm using metal brackets screwed into the part to keep everything in line, which you can see here. Time to clean and dry the working area before using silver tape to cover the holes. The part's now ready for fiberglass. It's all in line again, and from this side you can see I've got a nice-ish area to work with. Where there's crevices, that's going to get filled by the fibre and the epoxy, and then when we remove the tape, we'll find a bumpy but flattish area. Having now cut the shapes I need out of the fiberglass, I'm going to put some resin down, lay the mats, put a bit more resin on, and do a second layer for strength before letting that all dry. Start to finish, this will take about 20 minutes or so, and mixing the resin is super easy. You just do whatever the instructions say on your kit. It's absolutely fine to use patches to build up those layers where you've got the crevices. Just be sure to use one large piece for a nice smooth finish at the top layer. With the interior now fully hardened, we're going to remove the brackets and the metal down here like I have up here. We're then going to fill in these gaps with some very small pieces to raise the level and then put some larger pieces over the top to create one nice, very strong piece. Right then, with that being nice and hard, we're going to cut back to the line of the original part, which is there, as you can see. You can also see I went past that line quite a bit when I was wetting the fabric. That's allowed the mat to bond to each other from both sides as well, so that it's pinching the part as well as actually being bonded to it the whole way down. So that's a really nice and strong repair. Moving on to the tears now, which are not the clean breaks as such, but here we've got a tear which goes round just down to the bottom here. It's not separated as a part, so I don't need to brace it, but I'm just going to do that very similar backside first and then do the front to clean it up. And again over here, a big tear which actually goes right through. I haven't had to cut any central section out. This one fits quite neatly in its own plane without me actually carving anything out, so I've just braced it, and I'll do that the same as the one I've just done. Now that the back is dried, it's providing a lot of strength in that space. So actually, I don't think I have to do any more patching on the front. What I'm going to do is take off this bracket and then just fill in the crack with epoxy to give me a nice smooth finish ready for paint. And finally, moving on to tabs. This is probably the most common one you're going to want to do, and as you can see, there's a tear in this tab that comes right through to the edge of the part. Very easy fix. We're just going to put some layers of fiberglass on the back and a bit up here for reinforcement. Once that's dried, I'll turn it over, give it a top layer, and then drill the hole back through. If like this, your tab has been completely ripped out, you simply add a few extra layers here on the outside before continuing with the same process. With the tab, I'm going to cut back to the line of where I want the bodywork to be, and then I'm just going to redraw the hole there where it was, and that is job done. Now that I've finished fixing all the bits I broke, it's time to redo something I didn't do properly in the first place. So this whole area is going to come out now because this is all just body filler. We're then going to use expanding foam and use an outdoor expanding foam, and we're going to way overfill. Then we're going to carve back to the shape it currently is, and then fiberglass over the top of that, so that the foam gives us the majority of the body, because I've got to cover a space of about that much, and that's about 15 or so layers of fiberglass and epoxy. That's really heavy and unnecessary. This stuff's really light. So we'll use that to get the right shape over the top, and then we'll finally have a finished part. Removing what's left of the PPF takes out a few chunks of what's left of that excessive amount of filler, and the rest I'm chiseling out, then using the Dremel to cut away. Underneath there, I have just found another crack though, so I'm going to fix that using the same techniques I've just done everywhere else, and then I can get back to crafting the new shape. With the fiberglass all dried off, it's now time for me to lay on the foam, which I'm just going to do in very slow, thick patterns, way more than I'm going to need, but that allows me to then just carve out what I want to keep afterwards and saves me having to do multiple layers. Now I'll let that dry for an hour and a half, and then we'll come back and start carving it. I'm using the Dremel to cut the general shape while being careful not to cut too much off, then hand sanding to get the shape to match to the other side. After a test fit, I can see I've still got some more to cut out, but you want to be cautious here, not overzealous, to save yourself a few hours. Now that I'm happy with how the part sits on the car, it's time to sand everything back and get the right curves across the front. Then we can remove as much dust as possible, clean the area, dry it off, and we can start laying on the fiberglass. With the final test fit done, I now know that the bumper is thereabouts where it needs to be. The big gaps we had are now being filled, and you can see here where I've got a good centimetre of foam, then a couple of layers of fiberglass. That really covered that gap nicely. So what we're going to do now is basically sand the whole thing down. All these old bits of paint that are on here, they're going to come off as well at one point, so I might as well do that now. Then I'm going to use a body filler, just very small layers to get it so that every curve is exactly as it should be, because fiberglassing isn't really a precision material, so you're going to need a thin layer of body filler just to make sure that you get the right shape, and then it will be finally ready to paint this and get it back on the car. Before I can do the filler, I need to get rid of all the paint that's on this part, and I could use my sander like I've been doing to go over the whole thing, but that's not even going to fit into certain areas, and it's going to just take forever to go over the whole thing. So instead I'm using the paint stripper that you can see down below. That is a full face mask job, but it makes this so much easier. Paint it on, leave it for an hour, scrape it off, and then just wash the part, and we're ready to go. And here we are, the finished product. I've already done filler, paint and PPF videos, so I wanted to jump straight to the end for you, to the good as new stage, or better actually, because it's stronger and lighter. I've already been back to the track and it survived, so I'm happy to say these were very successful repairs, and hopefully this video has been useful for your own. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments down below, and as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.